Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammāṃ Saṅghāṃ namatssāmi. I think I've been given an impossible task to share the teachings of the Lord Buddha. I think would be very arrogant of me. I can't do that. So if you'll put up with a few reflections or listen carefully, and you listen to yourself, listen to that which knows, listen to that which turn the attention inwards, so that there's a sense of noticing what it is to be alive, to be separate, to be here, to be now, to have this, well, to be holding on to this sense of separation. This birth is like this. So, Bubs, 25 years, eh? Quarter of a century. Yeah, the quarter of this century is over. Yeah, 1900 to 1925, a lot happened. 2000 to 2025, a lot has happened. Now, about 72 years ago, when I was born, there were probably less than 3 billion people on the planet. Nowadays, boy, 8, 9? Time of the Lord Buddha. Well, they don't really know, of course, because they didn't really have many sensors or ID cards or passports, things like that. They counted a bit, but maybe between 1 and 200 million. Yeah, not so many humans, eh? And you know, the living conditions and the way that people were in those days. Very, very different in some ways. Same sort of problems in the heart, same sort of struggles. And that recognition that the future, what we can see is always the past. Yeah? That's all that we can really know. The past according to our interpretation. You know, or how we label and how we try to make sense of our experience out there is all based on the past. Our own particular relationship to the conditioning that has allowed this moment to arise. And we know on some level that this is all very partial. We don't really know very much. But we like to feel somehow secure and think that we've understood enough. And we have an idea of where we're going or what we could be doing based on the past. So we make our future something out there based on the past. And we don't know. I mean, 25 years ago, I don't think many of the people involved in Bubs thought that this would exist. They didn't know. They didn't know. You know, there was no no way for them to know. And it is helpful to appreciate the causes and conditions that allowed this to be here now. A lot of directed attention. We had a sort of opening ceremony, and I don't know why, because I don't plan or think things through very much, but I said then that the builders had built a generator. No, the monastery there is a generator of generosity, because it relies on generosity. Nothing is sold, nobody's paid. It just requires generosity, the generosity of the community who live there, the generosity of the support of the people who come there. So it generates generosity. And as you probably know, the way that the description of Buddhist practice, one of the ways of describing Buddhist practice starts with dana. Yeah, dana is the start of it, and the importance of dana is always stressed, because when there's a sense of release and a sense of giving without expecting anything in return, what that encourages in one, is a sense of sufficiency. What you're not feeling is a sense of neediness, a sense of inadequacy. Neediness is inadequacy. I need something to make me happy, or I need to get rid of something because I can't cope. Yeah, that's the neediness that dana is the complete antidote to. It's because one can't give unless one feels one has enough. Otherwise one tries to bargain, or one just holds on. Yeah? And it's actually difficult to give if one feels overwhelmed and wants to push things away. Yeah? It's difficult to give because I want to protect myself, I can't cope. Dana is the antidote to that. So monasteries generate dana. And then, of course, monasteries encourage people to behave themselves. They have these things called precepts and things like that. And behaving oneself in a way that is human rather than animal. Yeah? Behaving in a way that's beautiful, that encourages one to come out of the animal realm, and encourages other beings to come out of the animal realm. The animal realm is a realm of fear. It's basically animals, the whole time, they're basically terrified. And if that's what it's not wrong. It's not wrong, and that's the animal basis of, that's why humans also, because we share a lot with animals, we experience fear. And that's it's not wrong, but what virtue, what is a gift of is fearlessness. What it offers is fearlessness. So it offers a sense of being able to lift oneself out of that fear. The 5 precepts are the basis of human society. All the laws are around trying to encourage people to keep the 5 precepts one way or another. And if one does it consciously, if one keeps the 5 precepts consciously, of course one is offering oneself fearlessness, because one doesn't have to fear that one has to hide anything. Yeah? And then one offers all other beings a being that they don't need to feel frightened of. And that virtue is such a gift. Yeah, that's something that you can offer yourself and you can offer others. And monasteries certainly encourage fearlessness. And they generate fearlessness. Not many people are too frightened of monks. They don't think there's going to come and beat them up or pinch something from them or something like that. I mean, just dressed like this doesn't make one a monk, of course, but that's the sort of bit. And usually when you're here, you recognize that when the people are here, on the whole, they try to behave themselves. Yeah? You don't feel that they're out to exploit you or to get you or pinch your stuff. They'll probably find something and they'll give it back to you. And yeah, it's a bit different if you're in other parts of KL, maybe. Don't know. But right here, this is a place where virtue and beautiful behavior is encouraged. And of course, the monastics are supposed to behave in a particularly beautiful way, and the communities are supposed to be particularly harmonious and beautiful. Yeah, and offer that as a reflection for others, which is, why some people want to support the monks and the monasteries, is because they wish to support an idea of a community that behaves in a beautiful way and can be an example to others. Yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah, so monasteries generate virtue, dana, sila. Come on. You know what the third one is? Bhavana. And that sense of cultivating wisdom. Yeah? No, this is Buddhism, come on. Buddhism means wisdom, huh? So it's figuring out what to do with a life so that it's it brings blessings and is not a curse. Yeah? A curse is when you're stopped from doing something beautiful, isn't it? That's my definition of a curse. And a blessing is when you're encouraged to do something that you didn't quite think you could do, but is beautiful and uplifting. That's a blessing, isn't it? Or leaving something better than you found it is blessing it. Isn't it? It's a way of blessing something. You see something, you notice something, and you leave it in a way that, it's lovely for others. And that requires wisdom. And that's what wisdom is about. It's about bringing blessings. And of course, the blessings that we received are from 2,600 or 700 years ago. Yeah? When there were not so many beings on the planet, just a couple of 100 million, or that sort of thing. And we are still receiving blessings from 2,700 years ago. It's a big deal. Our inheritance is big deal. Because it really has encouraged goodness, it's encouraged generosity, it's encouraged virtue, and it's encouraged wisdom for this length of time. It's a generator of generosity, virtue, and wisdom. A generator of alternative energy. Yeah? This is real alternative energy. It's really, in some respects, revolutionary. It's a complete threat to society, this. If everybody just kept the first precept on the level of not killing human beings, my particular one, as you probably have already heard, is I'd really like, do you ever worry about losing your keys or losing your password? Yeah, forgetting your password or stuff like that, having to lock things up. If I could persuade everybody on the planet to keep the second precept, there'd be no need for locks or passwords. Take your shares out of Chubb. it would make a complete difference to society. It's not likely to happen, but it's, to recognize that we can actually imagine that is helpful. That this actually, the way that we can encourage and live in our own lives is something that can be of beauty and of value and safety for all. And okay, Bubs is Bubs. It's not particularly big, it's not particularly small, but it's come about through causes and conditions. Of course, and we don't know how it would have worked out, but certainly Chief Reverend was very, very much instrumental in bringing Theravada Buddhism to Malaysia. Yeah, and because of Theravada Buddhism, and of course you got the guys from up the way, from Thailand, more interested, and that allowed this sort of thing to come about. Yeah, so and all sorts of different threads have happened that have allowed this to be here. So, I just talk like this a bit so that, with the intention of encouraging all of you, who are here on a lazy Sunday, it's to consider, well, what sort of effort and energy and blessings can you bring to this life, to this place, to the people around you, to the whole sense of continuing to generate alternative energy. This place is not based on greed. It's not based on stupidity. It's not based on a sense of I can't cope. It's not based on a sense of I have to get rid of anything. It's not based on a sense of I have to get anything. It's just based on a sense of what can I offer? And I'll offer what I can, as kindly and as generously as I can, and with as much wisdom as I can. And that's what this place can really encourage. It does encourage. And we're all receiving it from people who've given to allow this to be here now. And that's the reflection that I'd like to encourage you to consider. So that your sense of, I want to meditate, I want to feel part of something that encourages reflection. Well, what is it? What is the wisest way to live this life? What is a noble way to live this life? How can I live this life thinking that I've left better than I found it? How can I bless this life? These are the questions that we in some way, if we're privileged to be here, that have come up in our lives. This is what we would really like to do. Because actually humans, when they work well, what they do is they encourage happiness. Now that's really what they do well. Because life wishes the best for itself. It may be confused about what is the best for itself, or it may not have the capacity to do the best for itself, but that's the basic response. What's the most optimal way to go from here? Even from an amoeba that tries to move towards food, or a grass that tries to grow towards the sun, or a tree that can't, that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to find out the best it possibly can for what sense of separation it feels. And humans, actually wish the best for themselves. And ignorance is what stops them. And ignorance is not knowing, and not knowing what one doesn't know. If one knows that one doesn't know, one's a little bit more cautious. And that's why, how we can know or a way of looking at what we can know is, if we look outwards, we look at the past. And if we try to project our future into the past, we just repeat the past. Sorry. But it's not unnecessary. It's not that we have to learn from the past, but to learn what we can put into the future, know that the future is unknown, and turn the attention inwards. In some societies, I heard recently, and I don't know quite whether it's true, but I quite liked it as a reflection. We tend to think of the future as something out there in front of us. For some societies, they feel the future is something, because it's the unknown, it's actually behind us. The future is behind us. And that for me encourages me to turn my attention inwards. How can I look inwards? No? Because, and the practice of the path is knowing how the heart is working, how this sense of where I am now, how that's working, how the citta is working. We have in Pali we have this three things that are sometimes translated as mind or consciousness, yeah? Vijnana, mano, and citta. Those are the three things. You've probably heard these terms. Mano, vijnana, and citta. And of course, being a language, being an idea, it's not fixed. They're not fixed. The language and things are tools, and they're pretty imperfect in some ways. So we have this. Mano is the root is the same root for. It gets into the Roman languages and those sorts of things as man. Yeah, mano is the root of that. Goes into man, and that's what humanity is about. And what mano is often sort of put into as the thinking mind. And humans, gosh, do they think? And tick, 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 tick. Yeah? And that's the bit that we use to direct our intention. We think about what we want, we think about this, we think about that, and that's what we use to direct intention. Yeah? I want this, so I think about how I can get there. We plan it out. And that's mano working. That's a way of talking about mano. And humans, brilliant at that. Do they think? Well, the difficulty with humans is figuring out how to stop it. It's not the thinking that's the problem for humans. It's figuring out what's not thinking. Yeah, what's not thinking? You can't think about what's not thinking. Or I can, but you know that's thinking. Yeah. Knowing what's not thinking is a whole different. Ooh. So rather than stopping thinking, knowing what's not thinking is an interesting proposition, isn't it? It's like noticing the space in the room or noticing the silence in music. Huh? No? Music needs silence. Without silence, music does not exist. Without space, this building could not exist. But we don't notice it. Notice what's not thinking. Anyway, the other one is vijnana. Yeah? And sense consciousness is what makes things present for us. And it also divides that sense of division. It both joins and divides. Because the sense of this being there, yeah, that's the consciousness bit. That's vijnana. Okay? These are all sometimes translated as mind or heart. But the bit that is about practice, and the bit that actually colors the whole experience, is actually citta. And that's what people talk about purifying, the citta. And the citta is sometimes translated as the heart, okay? But it's not like the seat of emotions or the physical thing that has sclerosis or too much cholesterol or arrhythmia or something. It's the sense of the whole of it. The sense of, oh. And the habits that are, the citta sankhara are the habits that are in there. Citta no sati is about knowing whether the heart is cramped or whether it's bright or whether it's liberated, or what's happening in there, or how it's all happening. And that's turning the attention inwards. And that's knowing the heart. And that knowing of the heart is the practice of the Eightfold Path. It's the way to lead out of suffering, because knowing that sense of knowing, then instinctively and absolutely clearly, you don't want to make more pain for yourself or for others, because it's unpleasant. Yeah? So, turn the, so you like to know the future. If you want to know your past karma, know where you are now. If you want to know your future karma, know what you're giving attention to and how you are now. Because this is the place where you have freedom. And worrying about the past or worrying about the future, you're not in any freedom, because you're then recreating stuff based on habit. If you want freedom, know where you are now. Know what you're doing now. Turn the attention inwards. If you want to know know that the future is the unknown. The future is not unknown. The future is the unknown. That's the nature of the future. It is the unknown. That's pretty scary, or pretty exciting. Because the unknown is either pretty scary or pretty exciting, isn't it? Same thing. If somebody's given you a beautiful present and you really trust them, the unknown is exciting. But if you don't know what's under your bed at night and you're frightened of monsters, then the unknown is scary. Yeah? It's the same thing. It's the unknown. It's how one's heart is. And that's why fearlessness is important. If you want to give yourself fearlessness, keep the precepts. Because then even if there are monsters under your bread, you know that you can say, I don't wish to harm monsters. I'm not frightened of them things, and I'm not frightened of what I might do. And the monsters have no need to fear me. So let them go their way, and if I die, then break up of the body, solve my problems, let's go for a good rebirth, because at least I've been keeping the 5 precepts. No big problem. Yeah? Fearlessness. Something that you can generate. And wisdom is something that you can generate. And a place like this is where you can get a boost of wisdom, a boost of virtue, a boost of generosity, a boost of a sense of it's okay, I can give, I can cope with this. I can go on and endure this very strange experience of being a human being, which is deeply peculiar, even though there are 8 billion others of them. It's a possibility to be a happiness creator for oneself and for others, and realize a sense of happiness that's independent of conditions. Because that's the happiness that we do really appreciate, isn't it? A happiness that allows us to feel whatever happens, it's okay. I can live with this. I can be with this. I can endure this. And I can offer into this. I have enough to be able to aspire to generate blessings. To put the effort into figuring out the best way to lead this life, so that at the end I won't feel, what on earth was I doing? Yeah. So that's the best I can really, offer this morning. For now, I'll be open to questions, open to reflections. Out of a sense of appreciation for 25 years of Bubs. What a funny name. Where on earth did they get that from? Isn't it? It's a funny name. Bandar. What does it actually mean, the place? Bandar Uttama. Apa. Yeah, Bandar Uttama. What's the meaning of Bandar Uttama? What? Yeah, but the town's name must mean something. Kuala Lumpur means muddy mouth. Yeah? What? Main town. It means main town. Well, like Main Street. So is it the main town of Petaling Jaya? Apama? One of the main towns. How can you be a main town in one of the main towns? Mana boleh. Doesn't make sense. Does everything have to make sense? No. Nothing needs to make sense. So this is main town Buddhism. Do you think would that make a show? A soap opera? It could be a soap opera, because I'm sure there was a lot of drama involved in making this place. Main town Buddhism. Buddhism in Main Street. That would be a soap opera, wouldn't it? All the different personalities and all the different scandals and ups and downs of a soap opera. Oh yeah, Bandar Uttama. Okay, Bubs. It's good enough, 25 years. It's managed to survive and managed to thrive. It's managed to do this well. It's offered enough. Of course there will be shifts and change. There's a rule about monasteries. I tell people, every monastery is different and every monastery changes. Well, it's true of people, actually. It's something to recognize that if you have a fixed idea about what something is, it's absolutely not sure, because the future is the unknown. Yeah? The future is the unknown. And that's how it is. So, turn the attention inwards and see the future that is happening here. Turn the attention to the citta sankhara. Know this sense of knowing as best you can, with a sense of safety and a sense of sufficiency. A sense of, it's okay, I can cope. Good luck. Beings wish you well. Since the time of the Lord Buddha, beings have wished you well. It started 2,700 years ago because beings wished beings to suffer less. Now and in the future, that's the only reason that Buddhism really exists. So that unwholesome qualities can decline and wholesome qualities can be encouraged. Hey, good luck. Thank you all. Yeah, and now there is time for questions.
Venerable, very interesting talk. I really enjoy it. especially the part you mentioned that we are sufficiency, fearlessness. Yeah, I can see that. But when you talk about wisdom, and you say it's a blessing, we want to leave something better than what it is. That's the whole purpose of wisdom. I'm referring to, like, we are parents, we have children. We want them to go to school, we want them to pass exam. They don't like it, but I want to make it a blessing. But it's not happening the way it is. How?
Not getting what you want is suffering. But yeah, the relationship with... I really find it interesting. Why do married people ask monastics about what to do with kids? Or business, for that matter. I hear other monks have the same question. But anyway, there is a standard answer to this, and it's not that complicated. Sorry. Life is given. Life is given, actually, because it's abundant. It's a given, and we are alive. It's a given, and we receive it. Humans have a particular business or a particular way of being. You know, there's this thing of you know, conception, pregnancy, and that whole business is natural, but at the same time a whole stressful business for both the being that is giving the birth and the being that is receiving the birth. And during that time, and through the life of a being, particularly the first thing it needs or requires is acceptance. If the fetus is rejected, it's called a miscarriage. If the fetus is accepted, then it has the opportunity to grow within this thing that gets more and more confined. But then everything's looked after. And then there's this thing called birth, which is traumatic for most people. My mother said it was no problem at all, which I'm grateful for. But so it's different for different people. But and then what a child needs is not being pushed away. If a child's pushed away, then it'll die. Sorry. It needs a sense of being accepted, not dwelt in aversion, and that is metta. That sense of being accepted is metta, not rejected, and that's the first thing that is required for any sort of growth or maturity. That's why metta is such a fundamental teaching. Not dwelling in aversion. And of course, you know the person who most needs your metta, not your kids, it's the person you live with 24 hours a day. And if you can have metta, if you can experience a sense of full acceptance of this being here for a finger snap, that's incredibly valuable. A lot of the time, we don't actually live with that. So that's an important thing, both for yourself and for the beings that you're with. And metta is is attractive, it's radiant. It brings people in. Okay. The next thing that humans require, if they're going to grow or mature, and it's also recognized that this is the natural expression of a heart free from ignorance. Naturally, the heart free from ignorance will express itself through metta. And it'll also express itself through the next one, karuna. I will get you. Karuna is doing something so that beings can suffer less. It requires wisdom. Yeah? It's not about noticing suffering or feeling sorry for things. It's about doing something. It's about making a space or making a structure whereby beings can suffer less. And for, human parents, the difficulty is figuring out what structure will help their kids suffer less. It's pretty much easier when they're just little. Yeah? But then there comes a stage where you have to figure out a little bit more about how beings can suffer less. And there are different stages as beings grow up. Because at first, babies require giant slaves. If they don't have giant slaves, they die. Yeah? These slaves, they have to be able to look after them. Yeah? And they have to have the skill to look after them. And they're not being asked to be paid either. They're not giving the baby a bill every time they come and... Yeah? They're slaves, they work for nothing. Yeah? A little bit later, as the babies get a little bit bigger, they recognize these guys are not slaves. They're actually gods. Yeah? And you see this, with the singular people. The singular people, singular cultural thing is that the children come and bow at their parents' feet. You've seen it, haven't you? Before they go to school, they come and bow at the feet, come and touch the feet. It's like they acknowledge that their parents are gods. Yeah? And that's beautiful. And the thing about gods, as you know, gods are not necessarily very wise. And they're a bit capricious sometimes. But they do have power. Yeah? And of course, for a while, as the kids grow up, the gods have a lot of power. Yeah? And that's fun, but the gods are not necessarily very wise, and they don't know how to really work so that the children suffer less. Yeah? Because they don't really know what that's about. And they do things like, they work on their past. They only have experience of the past, and they don't know what the future might hold, so they think, well, this is what happened to me, I should happen to me. And then at some point the kids, and you've probably come to this as well yourselves, maybe somewhere around puberty or a little bit after puberty, if they have the ability and the capacity to be able to do this, most people at that sort of age start to think, these guys are crazy. You can't trust anybody over 30. They've obviously made a complete mess of the world, and they've left it for me to come and sort out. Yeah? That's the very common feeling among anybody who has a reasonably privileged upbringing. It has to be a reasonably privileged upbringing, because otherwise it's just like trying to survive. But that's the sort of thing that comes up is, you can't trust anybody over 30. They have made a complete mess of the world. And they've left it for me to try to sort out. And I didn't ask to be born anyway. Yeah? That's so common. Yeah? And I've got to deal with all of this because, wow, they're not even gods. They're just stupid humans. Yeah? And that's so common. And it's not wrong, it's completely right, because that's what growing up's about. It's starting to notice. Yeah? Because the next thing that humans need to grow up, and of course, you know, if you're talking about compassion, the person who most needs your compassion is, of course, you yourself, the one you live with all the time. You have to figure out how you can suffer less now and in the future. That's your job. Yeah? Because if you're not suffering, then you're not asking other people to make you happy. And this is where the thing comes in. The next one comes in is that joy at goodness, joy at success, joy at beautiful things. It's the sort of joy that the parents feel when the kids start walking, or the kids make their first smile. Yeah? A sense of joy at, you know, it works on a higher level when you appreciate something that's good in others, and then you want to rise up and do it. And it's called mudita, appreciative joy. Yeah? And then this is where most people come into some sort of mistake. This is where one of the errors happens, is that they feel that two things. They feel that you're there to make me happy. If you do this, then I'll be happy. Yeah? Then if you say that to a child, even if they're little, particularly, it's very unkind. Because then you're saying to the kid, you're responsible for my happiness. And if it's a kid of 7 or 8 or 9 years old, the kid's going to think, Jesus, I'm supposed to make this thing happy? I don't know what he wants. I can't give him a whiskey. It's ridiculous to ask your kids to make you happy. Absolutely ridiculous. They're not responsible for your happiness. Sorry, you can be happy at their success, but to make your kids responsible for your happiness, it's just unfair. To make anybody responsible for happiness, even to make politicians responsible for your happiness, it's not fair. They don't know how to do it. Yeah? Yeah? And you're giving away your power. Yeah? You're responsible for your own happiness, sorry. Sorry. But you can have joy at their successes. Yeah? You can appreciate the goodness of their life. You can appreciate the goodness of your children's life. You can appreciate their success. But to make them responsible for your happiness is not fair. You're also not responsible for their happiness. If you try to make your kids happy, that's also a mistake. I know if somebody tries to make me happy, I start to think, what do they want from me? Or they don't really know what makes me happy. Why do they think they should make me happy? Do they not like me? Because I'm not happy? Yeah? Are they trying to make me happy because they want me to be different? Yeah, it means there's a certain amount of rejection happening. It's not that you might do things that might make them happy, or you might try to do something and you just see whether it works or not. But if you demand somebody else be happy because I'm doing this for you, sorry, it can be a bit too much. Okay? What you can do, and this works in families, I have some reports that this works, is rather than make each other responsible for your happiness, see how you can help people suffer less. See how you can help people suffer less. Yeah? That's requires a little bit of, because compassion requires wisdom. Yeah? You need both in order for it to fly. You have to work out how things can suffer less. And it requires wisdom. And it's not, if we get to teenagers and things like that, You don't give them freedom, you give them responsibility. then you don't, because freedom, when people are confused about what freedom is not license to do whatever you want to do. That's called slavery. You're then slavery to your wants. Yeah? Freedom is to do the right thing at the right time. And that requires freedom from desires and craving and feelings of inadequacy. So you have to have the encouragement to have people be free from a sense of inadequacy, free from a sense of neediness, free from a sense of compulsion. Yeah? If you're trying to compel somebody, you don't give them any freedom at all. That's called slavery. Or, making demands, and of course the first thing that's going to happen is going to not having this. Yeah, or shutting down. Yeah? The last thing, because you've heard these before. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. Upekkha is supreme sensitivity. Upekkha is sensitivity. It's a sense of overseeing, stillness that is sensitive, still sensitivity. It accepts limitation, and if it's possible to have mudita, because something wonderful is happening, then there's mudita. If it's possible to relieve suffering, then that actually happens, the karuna. And it's always possible not to dwell in aversion. Yeah? So upekkha oversees the whole thing, because your children don't belong to you. Your children don't belong to you. Your body doesn't belong to you. It belongs to nature. How it works out is according to causes and conditions. If you start thinking, this is me, this is mine, this is myself, more tension, more problems for yourself and for others. Yeah? So upekkha. You do the best you can and you let go. You have joy at their successes. Your job is to help beings suffer less. And yes, so you set structures. You help them do their homework, or you say, well, this is what you need to do because that'll help you suffer less. I'm not here to make you happy, sorry. And you're not here to make me happy. If you do your homework or not, I'm still going to be what I'm going to do. But if you want to suffer less, this is what you can do. Yeah? And if you do your homework, then I can say, great, you've done your homework, you've done well. But I'm not going to make my happiness dependent upon whether you do your homework or not. Yeah? Does that help a bit? Yeah? So you set limits and you give them responsibility rather than freedom.